Welcome back to another episode of Better Than I Found It, the podcast all things college golf. You're listening to Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor. My guest today is former Baylor golfer Braden Bailey. We discuss his humble upbringing in a small East Texas town, the 9-hole golf course where he honed his skills in that town, and it was actually a course that produced 2 PGA Tour players, Chris Stroud and Andrew Landry. Braden talks with great fondness about his time at Baylor here on the golf team. He's also particularly vulnerable and transparent about life as a mini-tour professional, specifically about the struggles and adversity he has faced as a young pro. Despite those struggles, it's easy to see he hasn't lost his enthusiasm or love for the game. Enjoy the listening. All right, everybody. Let's welcome former Baylor golfer Braden Bailey to the podcast today. Braden, thanks for taking time in between tournaments to join me on Better Than I Found It.
Yep, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. It's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming. I've been trying to get you on this podcast for the longest time, and today you're in Waco practicing in between tournaments, and I just sort of kidnapped you and said, come to the office and we'll record.
Yeah, I told you, I'll come along when I start playing better, but I haven't really been playing better, so it's just time to come on, I guess.
Well, I mean, and that's part of what today's podcast is going to be about is sort of the life of when a mini tour pro is struggling, what that feels like, what it looks like, and since you're kind of right in the middle of that, and you have as much enthusiasm, I can tell, for what you're doing, but you're also been in sort of a struggle. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But for those who don't know where you've been, since you left Baylor in May or June of 2019, you've been playing mini tour golf, and it's pretty much been on the APT tour, a little bit on the Canadian tour, that type of thing. But so you've been playing pro golf.
Yep.
And you've had some success, and then you've had some struggles as well. So I think it's important we talk about those today. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with facing it head on. So first of all, before we get into you telling me about mini tour life and what that's been like, because, I mean, I want the listeners to kind of hear it from a player's point of view. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, let's talk about something I try to do with every player that's still playing the game for a living is to kind of figure out where their start was in the game. Yours was unusual.
Yeah.
Yours is not the typical starting point. So I assume your dad got you into golf, correct?
Yeah. My dad got me into golf. I mean, we have pictures or videos from when I was, couldn't walk yet, 5-6 months old, of them just kind of standing me up, hitting a little 6-inch putt, making a little 6-inch putt with a plastic putter and a plastic ball. I grew up on this little 9-hole golf course in Groves, Texas. It's not even 3,000 yards from the back tee, just tiny greens. Can't have a putt longer than 20 feet on the greens.
So if the wind was blowing and you played 9 holes, how many greens would you hit in regulation if the wind was blowing hard? 3 or 4?
Not too many. Yeah, they were all kind of Donald Ross style turtlebacks too, so you weren't going to hit too many, but the greens weren't the best. They were pretty slow, so it's not like you had to worry too much about that. But
your dad and mom owned the golf course, correct? For a while?
So they ran the course. So what happened was in 2005, I believe, we had Hurricane Rita come through, and it pretty much just destroyed the course. Had a lot of trees messed up. The clubhouse got destroyed, and my dad and my godfather's a big real estate guy, lives in Aspen, and he kind of put some money up to buy this golf course, and they had a plan to buy the course, but in order to keep it a course, they were going to sell some lots on the side for the residential side to build houses, and that didn't get that. We didn't really sell those lots, but we kept it the golf course. We ran it for 6 years, so it took probably a year and a half of just hard work after Hurricane Rita to get the course back in shape. We had to resod the greens, finish up this entire clubhouse. The clubhouse wasn't very nice in the first place, and we redid the entire interior. It was disgusting, and made this entire patio out back just for everybody to kind of enjoy, drink their beer. That's pretty much what happened. It was just a bunch of playing a lot of golf and drinking a lot of beer. And we had this huge putting green, though. This was perfect for me, that you could hit 80-foot putts across this thing, and we had lights on the putting green, so at night we'd have these little putting matches between me. It would just be little 10, 12-year-old Braden against just my dad and his friends, essentially, just playing for a dollar makes, which I guess I wasn't an NCAA. I wasn't an NCAA athlete then, so I could get away with it. But, yeah, that's kind of how I got my start in the game, just playing little putting games, and then playing also money games out there on the course from the time I was 12. I was kind of playing with those guys because I was able to do that. It's a 3,000-yard golf course, so I can just hit driver wedge into the 350-yard par fours and get away with it. It was a blast.
I bet that was. It wasn't your typical privileged life growing up. You had a good childhood, but it was also like you were a little guy at a little municipal golf course, 9 holes. And the thing that most people don't recognize or think about is Port Neches Groves actually has produced some pretty good players.
Yeah.
If you think about Chris Stroud, who's played professional golf for 15 or 16 years,
there a while.
And Andrew Landry, who's probably played almost 10 years now, and yourself, who've been out of college for 3 or 4 years. That's a lot of good golf for such a small place. Did you know Chris and Andrew as you were a kid growing up?
Yeah. Obviously, I knew them. I was too young. I didn't really grow up playing with them, but they had the same exact start as me, growing up on the same little 9-hole course. I've talked to each of them about it, and we wouldn't change anything about the situation we grew up in, because it was a perfect golf course because it really got you to develop your short game, because you missed a lot of greens and they're tiny, so you have to really learn to chip it and putt it really well. So Andrew's been a mentor to me really since I turned pro. He's been a great guy to go to because he kind of went through the same thing that I'm going through right now. He turned pro, I think, after 3 years at Arkansas, and he struggled probably his first at least 3 years out, maybe 4 or 5 years out. He's doing what I'm doing now, kind of slumming on the mini tours, and really didn't break through until that U.S. Open at Oakmont. He was leading
Right.
for quite a while, and we talked. I talked to him probably every few months, just, hey, this is what I'm going through, and he's like, look, man, I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to struggle. I struggle all the time right now, and I'm here on the PGA Tour, so it's just going to be a constant grind, a constant battle, and it's just one of those things you're going to have to learn with. That's how you succeed in professional golf, is just dealing with that adversity.
I think people see guys like Colin Morikawa and Victor Hovland, they come out and they just succeed right away, and Matthew Wolff, and it's like, that's not normal. It's probably much more normal for a guy to come out and try to figure things out and over time figure his game out. So that's pretty much where you've been. It's great that you have a mentor like Andrew to actually help you along that path, because it's not easy.
Yeah, no. It would be much nicer to be out there right now doing what Colin, Victor, and those guys are doing. And it's awesome. I played with all of them in college and stuff, and you knew they were kind of destined for it. You could tell. But, that's not the typical route. A little jealous of that route, though.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier than what we're doing now.
I'm kind of jealous of that route, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Seems like it's easy, but we both know it's not. So, all right, so we'll get back to mini tour golf and kind of where you are right now. Great to know that you've had mentors like Chris Stroud and Andrew Landry to kind of pull you along this path, but you're still in the midst of it, so we're going to talk about that in a second. But when I got to Baylor in June of 2014, I called 3 people on my first day in the job. One was you, one was Travis McEnroe, and one was Hunter Shattuck, because you were all 3 verbally committed to Greg Priest at Baylor when I got the job. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was talking to you, but also talked to your dad, and he got most of the conversation, which your dad generally does, right?
Yeah, he's quite the talker. Yeah.
He's a heck of a talker.
You don't have to talk too much when you're on the phone with him.
You didn't say 2 words your first couple of years in college, so I thought, where did you? Surely you're not this man's son.
That's why. I couldn't get a word in around the house, so I had to learn to be quiet.
Exactly. But no, you were one of 3 commitments that I accepted from Greg Priest, and I'm thankful that he had all 3 of you. You're all 3 really good kids and good players. But were you kind of, I know it had to have been a shock to you, because you had committed to one man and now he's gone, and then they've got this new coach, and you didn't know who I was.
Yeah, I did, actually.
You did?
Actually, yep. I watched that national championship. That year was at Prairie Dunes, right? That was
you didn't know I was going to be your coach at that point.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't even know if Yeah, I committed in very end of April, 1st of May, right at the state golf tournaments when I committed to Coach Priest. And he called me a few weeks later saying that he was going to take the position at Tyler ISD. And I was thinking, well, this is going to be interesting because I don't know what I should do. Should I decommit? And I was like, we'll wait the situation out and see how it plays out. I loved Waco. I loved Baylor. It's kind of where I wanted to be. So I was just going to, the coaching situation was a huge part of why I committed there, but I decided I would stick it out and stay and see what happened. And something really good happened, and you got stuck with me. So
well, I did get stuck with you. So I'm gonna talk about our time together at Baylor real quick. So this is about every 5th or 6th podcast there's a Baylor person, and you're obviously a Baylor guy. But during your time at Baylor, you were a Golf Week All-American in 2018, I believe. We won the regional championship one year. We were ranked number 1 in the country for 2 weeks one year. We made match play that year at the national championship. Your senior year, you won the Big 12 match play championship. Individually, you had 2 victories, and you're the only Baylor golfer in history to play in every single event for your entire career.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That is crazy. You played a lot. I don't even know what the number of tournaments was, but it was a lot.
It was a lot.
And so all of that happened while you were here. Now, obviously, you didn't do it by yourself because you had some teammates like Hunter Shattuck and Matthew Perrine and Garrett May, and you had some great teammates. Mm-hmm. But that's a lot of things that had never happened in the history of Baylor golf. So I'm going to say it's not an accident. I think you had a lot to do with that. And
I had a little to do with it.
Well, you did.
Teammates definitely helped.
You definitely helped. But it was just describe your time at Baylor, why it was so good for you, why you're thankful you did it, and you got your degree as well.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't need that, but hey, so I came here. I actually, honestly, probably the best thing I did was I came here during the summer session. Garrett May and me came up that summer, so that was your idea to kind of just get accustomed to college life, to Waco, and we got to play Ridgewood every day, which is huge, so we aren't behind the 8 ball once qualifying started. So I just kind of came in. I didn't know what to expect, really, once school started, but got off to a really good start the first round of qualifying.
62.
And then it kind of never looked back from there. I played like you said, I played every single tournament. It was just such a great experience, just not only watching the university grow and watching myself grow as a person, but Waco grew a lot in my 4 years here too, and just the entire athletic department as well. But I started here, is this 125-pound
I was going to say,
freshman.
You said you watched yourself grow. Literally you grew.
Literally, I gained 15 pounds from my freshman fall to spring, and I picked up, 6-7 miles per hour club head speed at least. That was another huge thing for me, is just the amount of people you meet. Like Bill Alcorn made such a big difference on my golf. Just that semester, we got the speed training program instituted, I guess will be the word.
Yeah.
And that literally, I don't think I didn't have a top 10 that entire fall semester my freshman year, and I think I had 5 or 6 that spring semester. It completely changed my golf game. And from that point on, I played really well that summer, my freshman year. And then sophomore year, was playing fine in the fall, and then spring was the first time I think I kind of went through a little rough patch, a little struggle, kind of hurt my summer a little bit that summer, or I hurt my shoulder a little bit that summer, and that was the first tournament I think in my life I ever had to withdraw from an injury. So that was kind of a weird stretch. Got back junior year, found my game again, played really, really good for a while, won the first tournament of the spring, and then another rough patch, and then senior year came around, and I just played pretty terrible, honestly. But it was really cool just because even when you're struggling, the struggle in college I feel like is so much easier because you have so many guys around you supporting you, just your teammates, your coaches, and everybody's really working to kind of get you through that Right. And you have so many guys wanting you to succeed and wanting you to do better, because if I'm playing better, the team's going to perform better, and we're going to make runs at nationals and do what we're capable of. And you don't. That's the thing with pro golf, is you don't quite have that same camaraderie. Like, I have buddies I travel with that I love being around, and they want me to do well. We support each other. We want each other to play well. But you don't have that same camaraderie day to day, and I miss that. But I mean, overall, the college experience was awesome. The tournaments we played, the courses we got to travel to.
What was your favorite course in college?
Olympia Fields, and there's a lot though. Olympia Fields. My favorite course of all time is Olympic Club, where I played a couple amateur tournaments. I love the Floridian. I love Carencia. I love Cabo. I mean, taking a trip to Cabo every year. I mean, it's pretty rough.
Pretty good experience you had while you were in college. Yeah. So, you were being a little hard on yourself. I mean, you didn't play, I wouldn't call it terrible. You had flashes of brilliance every semester you played. There were just some rough stretches. But, no, I get it. I get what you're saying. But you played a lot of good golf for Baylor, and I don't think it's an accident that we had so much success while you were here. You had great teammates. You obviously pushed them. I think you were probably one of the hardest workers that I've coached, and I've coached a lot of players through the years that have worked hard. Maybe if we had to do over again, we might work a little differently.
Yeah.
So describe that, because you could hit more golf balls than just any 5 guys standing on the tee. But what would you change?
Yeah, that's the strange thing is I grew up on, like I said, I grew up on that 9-hole course, and we didn't even have a driving range there. So I've never been a guy that really beats balls. I never warmed up to play around a golf until like high school, really. For a high school tournament, I would just show up and
just play.
Go, because that's what I did. Even in tournaments growing up, I would just kind of show up 20 minutes before, hit some putts, and go. That's what I grew up doing. So I didn't. It's kind of unusual that's kind of how I got started in golf, and then I just kind of got to college, and you're gonna struggle in golf, like we talk about, and I know that I kind of just got too technical, because I'm a homegrown guy. I've never had a swing coach. I've never worked with anybody. I just, like I said, show up and play golf. And my swing is, even with that, I don't really have a very homegrown swing, though. Technically, my swing's pretty good. But I started struggling that sophomore year, and I kind of got stuck behind just videoing my swing too much. And that's one thing you always preach to us is golf's played on the golf course, not on the video monitor. And
but if I could enter something here right here. Okay, so you remember me saying that to you.
Yeah.
Braden, let's get off the practice tee. Let's go play some golf. But there's something about, maybe it's almost like a drug. If I'll just hit a few more balls, if I'll just see my video, maybe it'll get better. And it's like you can't get away from it. And you had a hard time with that. And so if you did struggle, that was part of it.
It was a big part of it. And it's just being a perfectionist. I mean, you're just so hard on yourself. And I can be on the range and hitting it just awesome. And I'm like, oh, no, that doesn't feel right. Or, oh, the club's not in the right spot here. I want it to be here. And you can just drive yourself crazy. And it's not really doing your game any good anyways, worrying about that kind of stuff, because at least for me, if I'm thinking about that stuff on the golf course, instead of, okay, this is my target, just hit it here, here's where I need to miss, instead of just thinking kind of like where I need to play the shots to, just thinking about course management. If I'm thinking about golf swing instead of golf, then I'm already just giving shots to the rest of the field to the other guys, and that was kind of what I think really got me slumping bad the first time. It was kind of getting caught up in all that, because you kind of lose the artistry and the creativity that I grew up with playing in that little 9-hole course.
So maybe here we are in the middle of, you told me you've missed 5 cuts in a row, although you're missing them by a shot or so. You're playing pretty well.
Okay. We're shooting even par in mini tour golf. That's what's happening.
That's a tough deal. Yeah. But so maybe you ought to listen to your own advice, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm trying. That's one thing I've done. I think I talked to you last time I was in Waco that, you have us write tournament summaries at the end of every tournament, and at the time you're doing it, we're kind of rolling our eyes at you. But honestly, I'm so grateful we did that, because I look back at, like I said, I played great golf freshman year and into that freshman summer, and I look back at all the summaries I had saved of freshman, and just how I was, because that's one thing I'm working on right now too. We can get into that another time, is like being more introspective, because I'm not a very introspective person. You saw that in the summaries that I would write.
I did.
But I was just getting back to those summaries and looking at what was I thinking on the golf course or with my golf swing or what was going on. And all I really talked about was just staying patient. And if I thought any technical thoughts, it was like sit around balance and rhythm and tempo and stuff like that. And I was thinking, man, I haven't thought about anything tempo or rhythm related in years. So that's really all I've been focusing on the last, well, I kind of took a little sabbatical, mid-year sabbatical from golf, but the last month and a half is all I'm trying to think is rhythm, balance, tempo, and
it's got to be helping.
I'm hitting it much better. I'm just, my even par just doesn't cut it in mini tour golf. The thing is, the courses we're playing, I feel like my game would travel well if I played a super difficult golf course, because I'm hitting it where I want to. I'm hitting a lot of quality golf shots. It's just a matter of kind of converting the putts and sharpening up the short game a little bit, which is where I've always been a really good wedge player, and they've just haven't been very good to me, which really, really hurts you.
It does on those golfers. Yeah, exactly.
It really hurts you if you're not wedging it well.
Well, let's get off the All-Pro Tour for just a second and talk about, you got an exemption, a sponsor exemption to play in the Houston Open. I believe it was your first year as a professional?
Yep. Yeah, a few months after I turned pro.
Yeah, so sometime in the fall of 2019. And you made the most of that opportunity that week. Describe the week you played and made the cut in the Houston Open.
Yeah, no, it was really cool because we played that course in college, so I played it all 4 years. It's pretty much my hometown event. I'm from the Houston area, so I grew up an hour and 15 minutes from the golf course. And it's kind of funny to go back to the college event there, that we would that I would play there every year, and my dad, and he would just gather up all of his friends. It's actually incredible. And we would I'd probably have 30 to 40 people following
in your gallery.
My group.
You were almost embarrassed, as I remember.
Well, they were tailgating in the parking lot. They would literally be cracking beers open at 8:30 in the parking lot when we're warming up for the event. But yeah, that was, honestly, I laughed at it and I was kind of embarrassed at the time, but it actually did a pretty good job of preparing me for that situation. Obviously, you're never going to be fully prepared for the nerves that are gonna hit you on the first tee box of your first ever PGA Tour event. But
did you tee off the front or back nine that week?
I teed off the back, which you'd prefer the tee shot on one, I guess. The 10 tee shot isn't too bad. I've never been so nervous in my life, I don't think. I remember I talked to Hunter Shattuck, who we mentioned earlier. One of my old teammates came and watched me that first round, and I talked to him after the round. I played great that day, but I talked to him after the round. He goes, "You just looked like a ghost when I wish you good luck walking the first tee." And I was like, "Hunter, I can't even explain how nervous I was." And just kind of hit a weak little 3-wood out to the right, 105 yards. Just this weak right wedge, short-sided. I'm like, okay, let's not make a mess of this. Chip it to 15 feet past the hole, 2-putt for bogey from 105 yards. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, let's figure something out. And the next hole, I holed out from 175 yards.
Okay.
The second hole of my PGA Tour career, just hold it out. And that calmed the nerves. After that, I was off to the races and played great that first round.
You shot under par that day, I think.
Yeah, I played really well. I was, I think, tied for 7th after the first day, shot 67, and we kind of had some weather come through Friday and Saturday. But I was in good shape after the first 3 days, just tied for 25th or so, and just didn't play. We had no win, pretty easy day the last day, didn't play great, but the overall experience was just, I mean, I had so much fun. I've never had more fun on the golf course than I had that first round.
You think you can draw from that experience the next time you get in that spot where you're actually playing a PGA Tour event?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt it was such a strange feeling because I went from feeling so uncomfortable the first hole to holing out the second hole and just feeling so comfortable the rest of the round. And it was just like that experience itself, it was just kind of like, man, I feel like this is where I'm meant to be almost. So just having that, proving to myself, okay, I've been here, done that. I know I can compete out here. It's huge for the confidence. And just the biggest thing is being able to handle your emotions under that pressure on that stage. And especially, I tell people, like, Thursday, Friday, it's not nearly the same as, like, Saturday, Sunday. Just the energy, the atmosphere around the place, the crowds. It's a lot different coming down, even though I wasn't contending necessarily Saturday or Sunday, really. Just the crowd around 18 compared to the crowd around 18 Thursday and Friday. It wasn't nearly the same.
Or the crowd at a college tournament.
Well, I don't know. I had a pretty big crowd at that tournament, but yeah, it's not the same. I guess nationals you'd see a crowd and stuff, especially once you got to match play. But yeah, it's not nearly the same as a stadium it's not the stadium at 16 at Waste Management, but you still have grandstands lining the holes and a bunch of people just a little intoxicated. That's what people don't realize is it gets kind of rowdy.
It gets raucous. So I've got a statistic right now that you have a chance to be the only person in the history of golf to do this. You know what that is?
No, but I'd love to hear it.
Make the cut in 100% of the PGA Tour events you play.
Yeah, my buddy told me that. He's like, man, your made cut percentage is better than Tiger Woods.
It's better than Tiger Woods.
Retire. I'm like, hey, thought about it.
But I think it's kind of cool that you do have that experience you can draw on, and you'll be back in the PGA Tour event one day. So let's talk about where you are right now. You're playing the All-Pro Tour, which honestly is amazing to me because now I realize you're playing little smaller towns, smaller golf courses, but you play a 72-hole event with a cut. Yeah. It kind of gets you used to doing that. And there's plenty of guys that are playing the PGA Tour now or the Korn Ferry who played on that tour.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like a great place to work your game through there. So tell me this. What's the biggest challenge you've had besides not playing your best golf? What's the biggest challenge?
It's really just, it really probably pretty much revolves around not playing great golf, but the travel aspect of it, everybody complains, like you're in the car for 8 hours. I don't mind. I'll just turn on a podcast and just get going. I mean, I have a ton of different podcasts I listen to. And
you ever listen to Better Than I Found It?
I actually do. Okay. Yeah.
Just
I do.
sure.
But I have. It depends what mood I'm in. I'll listen to this. I have plenty of other golf podcasts or live podcasts or motivational investing, just whatever to kind of keep the mind going. So that aspect of it isn't as tough as I thought it would be. It's an adjustment for sure because I haven't experienced the Korn Ferry where they can be on the road 10 weeks in a row at times, but I've been on the road 3-4 weeks in a row, and it does wear on you, but it's fun. It's fun to be out there because it's different because I've caddied for some buddies on Korn Ferry. I played Houston Open on the PGA Tour. Just the camaraderie out there is we're all out there slumming it together, not playing for that much money. The APT does a great job of giving us a place to play and giving us good purses, all things considered. But we're all in the same situation, slumming it, sharing hotel rooms, eating at Chili's every other night.
I'm thinking about this. You got to know Sam Stevens, who was a golfer at Oklahoma State.
I've known Sam for a long time.
Sam's playing beautifully on the Korn Ferry now, and he started right where you are right now, and he has some struggles where you are right now. So it's not like, to me, it's like, well, okay, these are my buddies, and some of them get to the next stage, and then they get to the next stage, and you're going, I can do that too. So you got to keep that hope and belief.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely motivation. Even the PGA Tour guys, like I've known Scotty since high school. You see Sam out there, Victor. I keep calling. I play with all these guys. I know I can play with them. So you see that, and it builds that belief, but you're also thinking, okay, they're out there. I gotta kind of get out there and catch up in a way. But yeah, Sam. The first time I played with Sam was actually here in Waco
at the Starburst.
At the Starburst, yeah, we were 9 and 10.
Wow.
So I've known Sam for a while. But yeah, seeing what he's done, he ran that tour for a couple of years during COVID, and he's obviously a really good player, and he's gonna do really well. He's having a pretty good year so far on the Korn Ferry. But
so for you, it has nothing to do with jealousy. It's more than anything, it's motivation. You're excited for them, but that's where I could be too. So
a little jealous of them too.
Yeah, maybe.
When I'm sitting in the hotel room in Garden City after missing my third cut in a row, I'm a little jealous of them. But it is that extra motivation for sure, because I know that I can play with them and I can compete with them and I can be out there. But like we've talked about at different times, everybody has their own process and everybody has their own. No two careers are going to go the same direction or going to take the same amount of time. Like we have no idea where our career path's going to take us, especially in golf. I mean, all it takes is 1 week and your life is literally changed in this game. So
one of the things I used to preach to you when you were in college was that there were two qualities I think are really, really important in life. So it doesn't matter what endeavor you're doing, but one is hard work or industriousness, like really working hard at something, which you do. And the other is enthusiasm or a love for what you're doing. So I'm going to ask this question. You've struggled. You haven't gotten to where you want to get to. You're still playing, so you obviously have a belief that it could happen. Do you still love the game of golf?
Yeah. I'm starting to love it again.
Okay.
It's been a process. I mean, there was probably... I missed getting through first stage of Q school this last year by a shot. And that kind of hit me pretty hard. And I was like, this golf thing's not very fun. I had a rough off season, which normally in the off season I do a very good job of preparing for staying motivated, preparing my body and working out pretty well, and preparing my game for that next season. But I did just an absolutely terrible job this off season of that. And I think it was some of it's just lack of motivation, just golf kind of wears on you at times, and I just kind of, the love for it wasn't quite there, because there's times out here where you don't want it to, but it just feels like a job. And I've talked to my family about it, friends, especially friends, because I have some buddies, they're doing really well in their jobs and careers, and they're over here, they're buying houses, making pretty good money, and I'm like, well, I have a finance degree, I can do that. And they go, Braden, I am so jealous of what you're doing right now, just traveling around, doing your own thing. And they're like, I'll trade places with you right now. And hearing that from them, when I'm kind of envious of their situation at times, it kind of makes me realize it's something we've talked about a lot, you've talked about with us a lot, is just the whole perspective on life, and just to be grateful in the situation that's in front of you. And kind of at times it can be tough, but if I have guys wanting to trade places with me, I know it can't be all that bad. It's not like I'm sitting at a desk all day from 9 to 5.
No, but they're also jealous that you can hit a 7-iron the way you can too. Yeah. So it's like they've always wanted to be able to do that.
Actually, I think there's something wrong with my 7-iron right now. I'm telling you, I have hit any other iron, I will just hit it perfect, straight up in the air, right where I want. The 7-iron, I don't know.
You better get that fixed.
I had to call Brad.
So back in college, I want to remind you of this. We left early to go to a tournament in Alabama, and you got down there without your 8-iron.
Oh, gosh.
And so what had ended up happening is you pulled the clubs out of your truck, and the 8-iron dragged and stayed in there.
Caught.
We had to borrow an 8-iron from Jay Sewell at the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
He had one exactly like it, and I think you played well that week, and he took credit for it. And then you came back, and your 8-iron was in your truck.
Yeah, no, I played well. It's really funny that week. I played really good that first round, I think. At one point I made 4 birdies in a row, and we're on this downhill par 3, and it is just the most perfect 8-iron. But there's trouble on both sides. It was number 8 in Old Overton. There's trouble on both sides, and it's just such a perfect 8-iron down the hill. And I have Coach Sewell's 8-iron. I haven't hit it enough. And I'm like, I'm not going to hit this. The pin's on the back ridge. I'm like, I'm just going to hit 9-iron 30 feet short of the ridge and just putt it up. And I hit it 30 feet short. And Coach Sewell, I was playing with Davis Riley. And Coach Sewell looks at me, he goes, scared to hit that 8-iron? I said, yep, I am, Coach. And I actually hit it the rest of the week a few times. I hit it great, actually. But that was pretty funny. I did play well that week, too. So
you did.
Credit to Coach Sewell. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Jay Sewell, he's just helping everybody.
And I was very convinced that TSA stole my 8-iron of all.
Why would somebody steal your 8-iron? Braden, anyway.
Oh, that was funny, though.
That was one time you got in trouble with me in college. I think you had to do a workout for that one. So
yeah, the old gauntlet.
Old gauntlet. So listen, okay. So I'm going to ask one more question. This winter you said you had a really tough time. So what do you think the best way is when you're going through a mental struggle in golf, and golf just beats you down occasionally? But so how do you come out of that? What do you do as a young mini tour pro?
For me, the biggest thing was what I've done, especially recently, especially in the last few months, is like we touched on earlier, is I'm not the most introspective person in the world, I would say. So I've done, you actually gave me the book by Ryan Holiday.
Yeah,
Obstacle
is the Way.
Yeah. I actually just listened to a podcast with him.
Yeah, he's got a good podcast. Mm-hmm.
It's actually, he's on the, like Joe Rogan came out with a podcast this week with him on it. It's 3 hours long, but it's a really good one too. Oh. But I was kind of reading that book, and I was realizing, okay, we have Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest
thinkers
of all time, like the most powerful person in the world of his time. If he can take the time each day to kind of journal and write his thoughts down and live with the humility in which he lives, then I can probably do something of that sort to better myself. And I know you've always been a habitual journaler. So I've actually done a much better job I've actually started to kind of journal a bit and write down just kind of what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and that's just helped me so much. Not necessarily on the course, but just in life. And I think the biggest thing, you see guys, you listen to interviews with like a Rory or Rahm, who I think are kind of some of the better thinkers in pro golf, kind of the smarter minds. They're both kind of big into philosophy and that kind of sort of thing. But you look at those guys, and they just seem to have this great balance off the course and on the course. And that's something I've really been trying to strive towards is finding that balance, because you get sucked into golf as your life, golf as your job, and when it sucks, when you're playing bad golf, then that really takes a toll on how you're feeling and how just everything in your life, and you just can't let the two of those things kind of run hand in hand. You have to. I've done a better job of kind of taking control of the off the course stuff, and it hasn't necessarily paid off on the course yet, but I feel a trend coming to where I feel like I am like making progress and having a more positive outlook on the course, and even though the results haven't been how I wanted, I'm trying to be much more optimistic, because it's really easy to kind of get sucked into, especially on the mini tours and stuff, just this negative, oh, the world's against me, like nothing's going right for me, oh my gosh, my ball just plugged in this bunker, oh my gosh, I'm in a divot, it's the end of the world. And really looking back after talking to my friends and everything, you just need to have this better perspective on life. Like, I'm grateful, this sense of kind of gratefulness, and that I'm grateful to be in the situation I'm in, even though it's not ideal, not where I want to be. This is what the hand I'm dealt, and I have to make the most of it. So that's kind of what I've done a much better job of doing. It's just been kind of the last few months especially, but starting this year I knew I kind of needed to make a change in that front of my life, and I feel like I'm getting there. And hopefully the golf will follow. Yeah,
I don't remember who wrote it, who said it, but I remember a quote, basically, if I can paraphrase, it said, years from now you'll look back at the struggles and you'll realize how incredibly good those were for you.
Yeah.
Now, that's paraphrasing, but essentially, a tour player right now, even though this isn't mini tour player, it's not that fun going through, missing a cut or whatever, but the truth is, when you do make it eventually, I mean, this is going to be the time when you forged all of the strength and all the courage to push through tough time. I mean, it's going to benefit you in the long run. You just don't feel it right now all the time.
Yeah.
So,
and you're going to deal with adversity at all levels of golf.
Yeah, you are.
That was something it's strange, but I was always been a super consistent junior player. So I never really I had a stretch where I struggled until college. So I didn't really necessarily know what to do. But I've struggled. I've had good stretches of golf since then. I've had great stretches of golf since then, and bad stretches also. And I feel like I'm doing a better job of learning what to do to get through those ruts. And
well, I can tell you this: from when I saw you in the winter, the motivation was pretty low, and you didn't feel real good about it. But it's great to see you smiling again. It's great to see you motivated and excited, and your enthusiasm is high right now. I like that.
It needs to be. Got to get ready for Q school
You
in a
better
few
believe
months,
it.
so I gotta get the game in shape for that. So.
Well, let's talk about this. So the next step up on the AP2 Tour is Texarkana, where your college roommate Garrett May is. I think he holds the course record there still.
Oh, he still does?
I think so. Maybe not. I don't know.
Might have to take it from him.
You should do that, but that's in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, I'll be staying with him, so hopefully we can clip the course record and just give him the earful all weekend.
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. Well,
annoy him.
I want to say thanks for taking the time to come by today and sharing some very vulnerable, feelings and thoughts about where you are in life and golf. But I think also a lot of people that listen to this, young college players or even young mini tour pros, should hear this, because it's like, you know what? My perspective is going to take me out of this. It's so much better than it used to be. So
yeah, and you're going to struggle in life no matter what you do. So you just kind of have to find a way out, and you can have people around you that support you and help you and talk you through it. But it's really your responsibility to kind of pull yourself up and kind of take charge of your life. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do, and it's been, I feel much better about life right now. It's just the golf will follow. I'm convinced.
Well, I'm kind of excited because I think you're going to win at Texarkana, and then I'm going to look like a genius on this podcast.
Yeah, I hope so. I could really use a win right now. I could just use a made cut, honestly.
I got you.
But
well, thanks again, Braden, for coming by. Best of luck at everything. Keep working hard and keep enjoying the game.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We'll see you.
See ya.